You've just stepped into the Midlife Revolution Unleashed, your space to ignite possibility, redefine purpose, and embrace the power that comes with age and experience. Co-hosted by yours truly, Coach Wayne.
And I'm Coach Stacy M. Lewis. We are two seasoned coaches focused on the midlife community of color. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. In a world that sometimes forgets the power and the wisdom that comes with age, we are here to ignite a revolution and rewrite the narrative of this incredible journey.
So, whether you're navigating your career, growing your business, rediscovering passions, or challenging the status quo, this is your space. So, buckle up. Let's dive into the Midlife Revolution Unleashed.
Well, welcome to the Midlife Revolution Unleashed. Happy 40th episode, Wayne. Happy 40th episode.
Hey, Stacy, congrats and happy 40th to you too. It seems like we started just the other day and here we are 40 strong into our episodes. Midlife Revolution Unleashed.
So
Stacy,
yes.
Something else is happening right now, and it's Black History Month. So we are celebrating a lot today, and we're happy that folks are jumping on and joining, whether it's live or later on. We want to leave some information and coaching nuggets that can help you get your 2025 going.
It's such an interesting kind of combination, right? We're celebrating our 40th episode. We are talking about amplifying our humanity in times of uncertainty, and it's Black History Month. And while I was not intending to start here, Wayne, I haven't read the article yet, but I glanced at an article in the Griot, and the title is Black People Disproportionately Affected by Hectic Work Schedules. And so this really speaks to the uncertainty of the times, right? Like why are we engaging in these hectic work schedules, right? Really trying to make it happen. And while we believe that we come so far, really being in this current climate as people of color, as Black people, really hearing some of the words that, that we heard many years ago, that our ancestors have heard many years ago, that we have to work harder in order to get ahead, and that, it really doesn't matter, or we're not as smart. Oof. Hate that one, as as our counterparts of other races or ethnicities. I think we really see the time as necessary to amplify our humanity and to really continue to lift each other up. And that's always why you and I are here. And so I think it is a great time to have this conversation.
Yeah, and we wanted to be apolitical, but you really can't exist and be totally apolitical. But without getting partisan, I would say that I live here in the Republic of Florida, and things happen differently in this republic, I'll tell you. And one of the things that we're seeing, it's a state that is heavily supported by the migrant community, or let me say, by immigrants. And what we're seeing is the beginning of what's going to be a revolution in terms of the way industry and commerce occurs here in this country, and certainly in Florida, where the dependency in so many ways are on folks who gain their way here from somewhere else, as in a large percentage of Americans. But Stacy, I talk about that because, to segue into humanity, some of what we see happening in terms of the invasion of privacy and private property by ICE takes away the humanity of folks who have a right, I think, to be treated fairly, justly, and as humans.
Absolutely. And, listening to you, I could only begin to think about the uncertainty, not only of those migrant populations, those communities, but also the uncertainty of the communities and the businesses, right, that are also going to be impacted by some of these shifts. And I don't know about you, Wayne, but one of the things I was starting to notice as well was just the level of um, vitriol. And you're right; it's not really about the partisan stuff, right? The political stuff. It really is about us as humans and how in these shifts, right, we talk to each other. The level of vitriol that I've been, seeing and experiencing, I don't know about you, but it certainly made me kind of step back just a wee bit from some of those social media platforms, because it was like you could start out at a high, really just saying something general, and then the next thing somebody's calling somebody a name or saying something, assuming that they are with one political party over another. I mean, just too much. And I strongly feel like we all need to be reconnected to tap into our humanity,
Yeah,
really who we were created to be as people, and as people that are supposed to love our neighbors as ourselves. And
yeah,
good evening, Dia, Delane, and welcome to the Midlife Revolution Unleashed. We are so excited that you are joining us this evening.
yeah. Welcome, welcome, fam. Stacy, the idea that we're disposing of DEI has gotten a lot of folks worked up. I and so I'm split about that. We talk about humanity, and we're gonna kind of touch on that because it speaks to some of what we're going to speak on tonight. I don't know how much, and this is Black History Month, so let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know how much we benefited from DEI per se, relative to other groups. And without singling out and finger pointing, the research bears for itself that there are other groups that seem to have advanced a lot more than we did in terms of DEI policies and practices in corporations in America. And one of the things that I think, though, is with its removal, it is heartening and reckoning to us
Mm-hmm.
as people of color that we have to call on ourselves. And we should have been doing this a long time ago. We have to collaborate much more frequently. We have to have more of a communal existence, taking care of the community, spending the dollar within our community, hiring folks that are part of our community, and not so quick to think everything outside is better than. We have tremendous talent in our community and scholarship, people who are so smart, and we just have to give each other an opportunity to prove ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to see each other. I think one of the things, um, I think back to my 20s, right? And even in my 30s, where there was still this sense like I could walk down the street and another sister could be coming in the opposite direction. We might even make eye contact, and I would speak and she wouldn't, or we would pass each other and no one would speak, right? So it was almost like we weren't acknowledging each other's presence. And so, I think showing up for ourselves and showing up for each other is really critical in this time.
Yeah. There's a lot of divisions going on, a lot of divisiveness. Black Americans versus the rest of the world, as it were, people from the Caribbean and the other places across the diaspora, including the motherland, separating ourselves. And when we talk about being human, one of the very first biblical principles that we know in terms of commandment is the idea of love, right? Loving yourself is important, but loving God, but loving your neighbor as well. And so to be human is to be able to present love to someone else. And, you know, we are, all of us right now, we recognize that we are competing with, and in some instances already losing that game to artificial intelligence, to robotics. And it's not to be taken lightly. We have to engage. And oftentimes, if we're not participating, we're going to be left behind. But I think one of the things we have to remember that we are humans, and there are things that separate us from these. They're machines. At the end of the day, that's what they are. We can't forget that. And what
Machines created
separates us?
by humans.
Yes, yes. And so they are becoming more sentient. They're thinking, it appears, on their own to some extent. They're making themselves, as it were, but they don't have that spirit, the creative spirit of the Most High within them. And so as humans, we have to be able, I think, to show each other love, compassion, tenderness, empathy, what we call oftentimes emotional intelligence.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. I think one thing about uncertainty that we know is that it always exists. And we have witnessed history show how resilience, higher levels of resilience, is built in the hard times, is built in the uncertain times. And, you know, we're here to remind each other and ourselves of that. Like, this is a great opportunity to not focus on all of the distractions, right? So much of this, I just keep thinking about what's been happening, you know, in the last, 30 days or whatever. And, you know, my baseball analogy is, a pitcher can throw a ball at, 97 miles an hour or whatever, and the batter will swing. But if the pitcher throws ball after ball after ball after ball after ball, right, the batter is now all disoriented. Which ball is he supposed to swing at? And I think that all of these distractions are now coming our way, and we don't know what to react to. We don't know how to respond, and which ball is going to hit us in the back of the head, which ball is going to pass us by and hit our neighbor. And it's distraction, right?
Yeah.
To keep us focused on the things we don't need to focus on. You referenced, the good book, the basic instruction before leaving Earth, right? And that we need to be focused on the main thing. What is it that we are here to do? And it doesn't mean we ignore what's happening in society, but I don't know about you, Wayne, but I've been in conversations where the person is literally, like, I'm witnessing the person swirl downward into the what ifs, and, well, they said this, and, and I mean, they were like so far down in the pit in the conversation that really bringing them back up to a place of, you are here now, right? You have the gifts, the job, the career, the entrepreneur, the business, the money, the food. You are here now. And what can you do now in your season to really remind yourself of who you are, your gifts and your strengths and your resilience, and understand maybe what some of these changes mean to you, not necessarily internalizing them, but not operating from this place of fear, right? The word says God has not given us a spirit of fear. And we have to remind each other of just that.
Yeah, well said, Stacy. Thank you for sharing that. Well said. Right now, at a time like now, more than ever before, we have to call on our humanity and people of color, but also for our seasoned friends on this call, listening to this podcast, our midlifers. We have a track record. We have seen some things, been some places. We're not kids. We're not green around the ears. And so we know through experience, through what I call saging, that when we displace our sensibilities as human beings and get so caught up in all the shiny stuff, whether we're looking at new policies by government or the dismissal of policies by government that makes people cold and callous. I'm seeing a lot of that. I'm seeing in this climate people making an excuse to dismiss others, to not even have the courtesy to allow them to, as it were, part from their customs. We have to know better, because guess what? We have been there before as people of color, and some of us are still here. We understand what it is to be oppressed and suppressed in so many ways. And so, again, there's a call on us right now to be humans, to call on each other and be gentle and caring and sharing.
I could nod my head for another 20 minutes, because what I believe our fellowship can hear and see is that both you and I are just so very passionate about this thing because of our own experiences, because of our own hardships, because of things that we've witnessed, because of what we're hearing, and believe that this conversation about amplifying our humanity is really going to be critical to our own success, right? To our own ability to get through this. And so I would say one way to begin to reclaim our humanity and resilience is to reconnect with our personal power. We still have influence. We have the power to, look at our money and see and stop spending it so frivolously, or, to make sure that we're paying attention to where our money is invested and understanding maybe a little bit more about where those investments are invested. There are opportunities for us to identify what is in our control and really use that knowledge to shift our mindset and to take actions based on what we can control, not what we think might happen.
Yeah. Stacy, it's really an opportunity for us to express true attentiveness, care, and touch, as it were, to others through empathetic listening, active listening. There are people who need to be heard now and seen. There is an atmosphere of fear, trepidation everywhere. Stacy, I'll tell you, I saw an article to the Jamaican population here, segment in Florida, reminding folks to travel with their passports. Now, where does that come from? That sounds like we have moved back 50 years, right? So you got to walk with your passport so that if you're stopped, you can quickly declare that you belong here. And what's happening is, talk about the lack of humanity, because I am blessed in this outfit called my blackness. When I go in the street, I can't take it off, not that I would choose to, but then I'm being targeted. And so I have to worry about that. And there are people who, because of language and cultural barriers, need to be heard and seen. And that's where we come in, and from human to human, connect with others, be empathetic.
Correct. I love the idea of what you're sharing, the leading with empathy, right? And reminding ourselves to be aware that, like you're saying, that, you know, you might walk out the door without a struggle or care in the world, yet you can run easily into another Black man, you know, as you go to the grocery store, and you can immediately connect with or identify the fact that he's got some struggles going on, right? And your awareness of that, and then your act of empathy, even if it's, you know, a smile and hello, you know what I mean, or like, I see you, man, you know, that can really begin to help someone feel seen and feel like, yeah, somebody else gets it.
Yeah. And Stacey, this is a good time for us to practice self-care, have rituals that allow us to breathe and exhale, and to take some of the stress off in the workplace and at home, whatever we need to do to take that thing off our backs so that we can get through the day. That's one thing that I'm inviting our audience to do. Just be intentional about taking care of self right now.
Yeah. Give us one. What's one of your daily self-care acts?
For me, it's in the morning, we do, myself and Audrey, we do the journaling, which is, I beg your pardon, it's the gratitude piece that we do, where we tell each other what we're grateful for. And really what that does, it gives us a chance to start our mornings, our day, on the right foot, being able to receive and to show that we are grateful for those gifts, just to be grateful to get up. And so it's one of the things we do to start us right and start us with a positive aura.
I love it.
What about you, Stacy?
Yeah, and you know, my morning is certainly, I start with the word of God. Otherwise, I'd be all jacked up. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Because I would forget that God is in control.
Yeah.
I may not understand what's happening, even in my own life, right? Outside of the environmental or societal swirl. That grounding in the morning of, you know, whether I'm focused on a promise of God, or, you know, just the truth of God and who I believe God is, that for me is definitely the way I need to start the day. And I'm sure we can share some other practical actions with our audience. What you got?
Yeah. Building a circle of support. There are some people who at this time have prayer groups or belong to groups. There are people who have, I know, circles of support in terms of brotherhoods, and they get on the phone and do a Zoom call and check in with each other. that's part of humanity in expression and show. And we're inviting people to think of those opportunities and make them happen.
I love it. I thrive in community. And it is, we were not meant to do this thing called life alone. And so I love that you raise the need for community. I would encourage our audience to consider a social media diet, right?
Yes.
Every time I jump out there, I just feel like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I feel like I'm swimming with the sharks. I'll come
Yes.
across, an encouraging word sometime. And then, as you continue to scroll, that word sometimes becomes a little bit more discouraging. So consider a social media diet to really show yourself that self-care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stacy, a good friend of mine, a former mentor, who actually got me into teaching in City College back in the day. She passed in her sleep on Sunday,
Mm.
and her husband reached out to me, and I just met him recently. We hosted an event there last October, actually, in West Palm, where they have their place.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me, and the first 3 minutes of the call, I had no idea what was going on. He was weeping, like the
Mm-hmm.
hydrant was on, and this brother wept. And I was happy before he got to telling me that his wife, my friend, had passed. I was just happy to be there to avail myself to be
Mm-hmm.
human, to
Mm-hmm.
allow him to get out of the man box. And
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes, us brothers in the Black community, especially as we get older, we get locked into these old thinking of being in this man's box where we can't express the softer side, the nurturing side, the feminine side. I didn't say the effeminate, the feminine side
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
of being a man. And so we implode. And I'm here to say that this is the time right now where we can fully extend ourselves and allow our pain and our fears to be shared and to go out there. Stacy, it's the highest incidence of suicide
Mm.
right now in the Black community is with men in that midlife range.
Wow. Wow. Super profound. And what power um, that you demonstrated, even in that moment of just listening to him weep, right? The level of kindness and the sharing of that experience is just it was palpable to me, and we often forget how, right, it wasn't like it cost you $1 million or you had to spend 3 hours doing it. um you showed up, and um you were generous with your time and your presence.
Yeah,
And that listening, right? That deep listening is something else that we can do to support each other, right? To
yeah,
to encourage each other, to keep each other going, to know you're not alone because somebody is listening to
yeah,
what I'm saying.
yeah,
They're hearing my words and hearing my heart.
yeah. You know, as we look around our communities, Stacy, there
Hmm.
are folks who are being subjected to harassment and other things at this point because of the climate. And we oftentimes look across and say, yeah, you see those people? It's just a matter of time before those people become us people. And so I want to remind folks that they are us and we are them. You know, I tell people all the time, when we got here, we may have traveled on different ships, but now we're all in the same boat. And so it's important that our humanity extends truly to others who may speak a different language, look different from us, but they're us. It's just a matter of time before those people, whether they voted or not for whatever, if their rights are being taken away, and if they're being mistreated and not being humanized, we can't look on and say they deserve it or they should have done this or done that. We have to recognize that we're part of the same family. It's just a matter of time before that knock comes to our doors. And if we have isolated and alienated everyone, then when it comes to our doors, we'll be all alone.
Well said. I'm, calling on the body of Christ in particular to be the hands and feet. We are to be salt and light. So any representation that we see out there of, people embracing their religion in a way that allows for the condemnation, the abuse, the torment, the dismissiveness of other people is certainly not a religion or a practice based in who God is. And for me, I'm saying that the kingdom, the body of Christ, needs to be salt and light and come against all of these distractions and, some of this foolishness, and remember who we are, who we were created by, and what we were created to do here on this earth. This is our time. Develop a resilience blueprint, build up your declaration strategy, your affirmations, get involved, make your voice heard in a way that you feel is possible, where you feel powerful and where you feel like you are doing what you are here to do. We all have such power and such a gift of being in this country, of being, of having our right minds, of having articulation of tongue, of having platforms like this to really amplify our voices. And we would be remiss if we did not amplify humanity and the role that we all play in making sure that humanity is lifted up, and that in times of uncertainty, our communities have strategies to move beyond that uncertainty into a place of power.
Amen, Stace. Stace, I'll steal the last couple
Please do.
or minutes to share a reality. It's predicted by both Elon Musk and Brett Haddock, who is also a billionaire guru in the AI space, that by the year 2040, now listen to this, I saw this today, by the year 2040, there will be 10 billion humanoid robots on the planet Earth. That's more than there are humans today. And so we see where Tesla and others also have gotten and upped their game in terms of productivity, Optimus and others in the way of the budget, right, to move that. And I'll say this, last night I was doing some research on my computer, and Microsoft is now Microsoft Copilot, and it's AI.
That's their AI.
Yeah. And I asked for some guidance on a business plan, and a voice came on and shocked the hell out of me, because it sounded like there was a man in my closet talking to me. Hey, Wayne, why you up so late? It said. And I stayed quiet. Wayne, you with me? Why you up so late? And so I got into a conversation talking to this AI, right? And then it went on. And after a while, Stacy, talking about the humanoid stuff, I decided intentionally to sign off and get the heck out of here, just because I know my wife was one room away and I could run the idea by her. What am I saying? Yes, we can use the tools around us, but don't lose ourselves to the tools around us. in touch with reality. We are social creatures. Part of what distinguishes us from everything else is the fact that we need to connect with one another.
And there we have it. Our 40th episode of the Midlife Revolution Unleashed, where Coach Wayne, the VIP coach, and Coach Stacy, the Midlife Magnificent coach, is reminding you that it's time to amplify our humanity, to celebrate each other, to lift each other up, to encourage each other, to reach out to someone when you are struggling, to not try to carry all of the swirl of the world in your mind. Delane responded to your story. She was like, crazy.
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you, Delane, Dia. I saw a couple other people on. Diana, thank you for joining. And the folks on LinkedIn, we're not seeing you right now in the comments, but we want to holler at you and thank you. This has been our 40th. Pretty soon we're going to be announcing our 1-year anniversary. But Stacy, because we are on borrowed time and we appreciate everybody jumping on, we're going to wind up today. Happy Black History Month, all month long, all year long. And Stace, folks can get in touch with us through.
Absolutely. Y'all know how to reach me at thestacymlewis.com. I'm always there. I'm on LinkedIn, YouTube, all that stuff. But if you hit up my website, you can reach me at any time. How about you, Wayne?
Just DM me here on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and drop me a private message, and I'm happy to connect with you, or go to the site www.viptransformativeliving.com. Stacy, we'll do it again next week.
Yes, we will. Thank you all for joining us and celebrating with us our 40th episode.
Bye, y'all. And there you have it, folks. This week's episode of the Midlife Revolution Unleashed. Hey, we truly appreciate your spending this time in this space with us. Join us next week at the same time as we dive into relevant topics and present solutions to spark new thinking and empower your midlife journey.
And don't forget, if you enjoyed today's episode, let us know in the comments and share it with others. And of course, remember to subscribe, share, like, hit that notification bell. You are the Midlife Revolution Unleashed. I'm Coach Stacy, and I'm cheering you on.
And I'm Coach Wayne, and I'll see you at the top.